Well, people, it's time for the HPV rant. Seriously, how smart do you have to be to figure out that if HPV causes vaginal cancer, apparently 99.9%, or at least 99%, that more than likely it also causes anal cancer, mouth and throat cancer, and penile cancer? What percentage probably applies there? But this highly trained medical system of ours can't put that together. They don't want to apparently admit that it's a contact disease instead of calling it an STD. But aren't most STDs from the transmission of sexually related fluids? So something that you can just pick up by contact, which HPV apparently is, and all its various strains, would not be an STD. And people are going through shame and guilt and, disgust with themselves, discussing it and hiding it because they don't want to admit they have the STD. Well, if the medical system would start calling this what it actually is, people would start dealing with it better. Now, what I don't know is the life of it in the wild. Like, can I get it 2 hours later after somebody that has it on their hand touches a doorknob or touches a handle that goes into a building? Can I come along 2 hours later and pick it up? And I just mean pick it up on my hand. Doesn't mean I'm actually infected with it at that point in time. They say that it has to go in a cut or an abrasion to actually infect you. I don't know the truth of that either. Because if that's the case, how is everybody getting it so easily through sexual contact when they call it an STD? If it was an STD, what, people have cuts and abrasions on their penises and vaginas? Or is it just because the openness of the vagina allows it to get in there? But guys don't have that. So how are they getting it on their penis so easily? How are they getting testicular cancer so easily? All the variances. I don't have all the answers, but I just think the medical system doesn't want to admit how stupid it actually is, as they try to pretend they're brilliant professionals when they're actually dumb idiots, basically. I don't know what else to say about that, except I have been labeled many things by the people I grew up with and those that know me locally, because I've been ranting about this for years. Things that are now coming to light in the media, like Michael Douglas a few years ago talking about throat cancer and all that. I speculated on that kind of stuff years ago. And after finding out the medical system had a cutoff limit for people getting the vaccine, and my age group fell outside of that, I was very disappointed to find out that I was being written off, and the people around me were being written off. So the ranting that I was doing years ago was because I felt somebody should be educating those people in my age group and around me about the, circumstances that they're being ignored about. I ranted and raved on Facebook. I created an HPV group, You, Me, and HPV, which somebody else has an online website titled You, Me, and HPV, which isn't mine. So it's just circumstance, but it's a title I like. I went on to discuss all the circumstances in that group that I felt related to HPV and its effects. Now, man in general, people, not just men, but man as a group, people, are very accepting. What if HPV doesn't clear up and people just start learning to live with what they wouldn't have accepted before? What if it grows smartly? I had an instance with my own mother, and she said she had a callus on her foot. And I told her that wasn't a callus. I told her that was HPV. She didn't listen to me immediately, but after a little while, she started taking sandpaper to it. Shortly thereafter, after she got rid of, the initial bump, and she got down to almost flush, she started finding the black spots that you find, the blood, old aged coagulated blood and it's black, that you find in those kinds of warts. And at that point in time, when she was sanding, she would start bleeding. After she sanded it for quite a while, it wasn't there anymore. And I don't mean quite a while one day, I mean quite a while over a number of days across a number of weeks. And she would sand it off, and this piece of sandpaper would have a streak of dried blood across it from where she was sanding it until it bled. She had said to me after that, she said that she had impressions in her shoes from that being there so long, and she had just taken it as a callus that, was from her working as a nurse and from her walking. And she didn't know where she would have contracted it. Yeah, I can't even say contracted right now properly. There it goes. And I couldn't believe that statement, because she worked in the medical system. How many people in there are carrying HPV when they come through the door? Like, are you kidding me? People come there to be treated because they're sick, and how much of the sickness that people are getting treated for is related to HPV, and they don't even realize it. The medical system doesn't want to admit it because that would be admitting their incompetence. Or, the medical system isn't what it used to be. So these things have been eluding us, and we haven't been discerning them the way the old world would have. Sadly, our modern professional system is, degrading in a way that it is not beneficial to us, considering a big part of this modern system is our medical system. And a big part of, especially Canada, we fund our medical system. Your doctor's bills in Canada are free and paid for. You just go to the hospital with your number and walk away when you're done. But how much of what they are treating you for and taking care of do they not even understand? As long as they get to cut it out of you and, say they helped you, they're happy. They don't actually care. Believe me, I know. With a mother like mine who was a trained RN, I know that the medical community is trained not to care. Literally. It's up to the individual if they choose to care, and if they learn the tactics and coping skills to actually still care as they go through for their training. But until they can learn to admit their faults and their shortcomings, they are going to be a sad system for a society that needs them. In regards to that, there's not much more I can say. In regards to HPV, there's a whole pile of things I can say. I really don't want anal cancer, throat cancer, tongue cancer, cheek cancer, penile cancer. and I'm outside the screening, I'm outside the vaccination, I'm outside of a system that doesn't even want to educate me on it. I have to educate myself, which I tried sharing with the people around me in my social group on Facebook. I was then labeled a freak and a crazy person because I was ranting about HPV, trying to make them pay attention to it. But then shortly after that, such as recently, Michael Douglas coming out about it, Catherine Zeta-Jones getting upset, them separating, getting back together, I don't know, maybe what it was, 6 months later? Yeah, so all the stuff that I ranted about and got, called a crazy lunatic about has come into fruition in one shape or another on the news. And now it's time that the society around the world started realizing that no matter what, if certain countries don't have a higher or as high of an HPV epidemic as other countries, some of its habits, such as China, they bow, or half of them bow still. And, North American culture, we really don't bow. We shake hands. So we would exchange HPV like crazy. Statistics recently was that fist bumping is cutting down on the transmission of cancer. So fist bumping instead of, shaking hands is cutting down on the transmission. I wondered and speculated years ago when I was doing my HPV rant if the reason there's lower cancer in China is because they bow, shaking hands, so they don't transmit as many diseases as other cultures do. And yes, I have been labeled with this and trying to share it with people and discuss it with people, and many of these people were supposed to be my friends, but they didn't want to admit that they might have, might actually be infected by something that bears the title, which, in all honesty, isn't an STD. It's a contact disease. It could be I haven't been sucking on penises, but I had oral sex with women. Now, am I having oral sex with women right this minute? Any woman right this minute? I don't see any girls here. So why should I be embarrassed about talking about the fact that I may have throat cancer? And the medical system that I believe in, and I'm supposed to believe in, doesn't screen me for that. It might be throat, mouth, tongue, stuff. I could be growing scrotum cancer, penile cancer, all kind of stuff too. That's the dang spot.